During our years among the Masengo, especially those first few years, there were times when we really were alarmed and afraid. I can scarcely adequately describe our fear and the danger facing us on that day when angry, drunken Masengos came on the compound late in the afternoon. We had had a serious misunderstanding with Balti over an incident in which a young man had attempted to drive the Land Rover. How he managed to move it, I'll never understand. Later that afternoon, when Masengos were on a high from their fermented honey water drink, laced with the bark of the tree that gave a drug-like effect, they came on the compound with evil intent. Larry Zudwig and I were sitting casually in front of the office across from the clinic when I saw a group of men coming across the compound in front of the school. They seemed excited, and suddenly Buckley stopped. Crouched down behind a tree about 50 yards from where we were sitting, he raised his rifle, pointing it in our direction as he took aim. I jumped to my feet and I said to Larry, "The man's going to shoot. Run!" Larry responded by saying, "You've got to be kidding." Quick as a flash, I said, "I am not, man. Run!" We both took off running down the mission road toward our houses. As we began to run, a big, strong Masengo, under the influence, picked up his spear and began chasing us. He ran after me, twirling the spear over his head, ready to be thrown. I could see that we weren't going to get away. I turned around, stopped momentarily, raised my hand, and in English said, "No, man, no," and wheeled around and ran. 2 women jumped out of the bushes and tripped this drunken Masengo, whom I later came to know was named Oshor. He stumbled and fell, and we were able to get away. Larry peeled off into the forest below on the side. By this time our wives had heard the commotion and were making their way up the hill to find out what was going on. I nearly collapsed into their arms with the words, "They're going to kill us all." It was the most indescribable moment of terror I had ever experienced. The women steadied me on my feet, and we made our way as quickly as we could make it to the nearest building, the outside storeroom, rushed in, and closed the door. We were worried as to what had become of Larry. All I could think of was Auca Indians. What a relief when Larry, after 10 or 15 minutes, showed up unscathed. We were now all in the storeroom along with our little boy, Paul. We learned later that several of the Masengos with their heavy rifles were lying in the coffee grove waiting for us to come out. Obala, our clinic dresser, came over and advised us to stay out of sight until their anger was cooled and they were less drunk. He helped us with comforting words and by bringing over something to eat, as we were going to stay hidden until morning. Larry, Betty, Levina, our little boy Paul, and I were in the first room of the shop where the tools were. We immediately decided that we should crawl over the 6-foot 6-inch metal roofing sheets, which served as a wall separating this room from the next, which was the middle room having its own outside door. We're still amazed that these women had managed to crawl over it and get between the low roof and that wall. Once we were all over the wall, we were locked in there for the duration.